I've been in Spain for not even 3 months now. So my mom wanted to come and visit, and she has a couple of Airbnbs in Minnesota, and she loves real estate and looking at properties. So I said, Mom, let's go look at some places when you're here. So in this video, I want to take you on a short house hunting trip in Valencia, Spain. Is it a good investment or not? I am on my balcony and it looks like this. I'm also in an up-and-coming neighborhood, so there's construction noises, and I might go inside. I love my desk, my little flower in the background. All right, so first, what are the prices like in Valencia? Let's look at some prices on Idealista. Let's look in my neighborhood just to get an idea. 2-bedroom places. All right, so these look pretty nice. 170 price range. These look like they've been updated a little bit more. You can look at the square meters here. So in the 150, 170, 200,000 range. Okay, so what are the hot markets for foreigners in Valencia? Everybody talks about Ruzafa. Ruzafa is a little bit south of the old center. Super cute buildings, looks really taken care of. Hip shops, cute cafes with, shady trees, bike paths everywhere. Definitely one of the more expensive places. And then El Carmen is in the old town, the old city center. Narrow streets, medieval stone buildings. Lots of tourists, but also Valencians coming in to enjoy the city. Great place if you just want to walk everywhere. Also expensive. Gran Via neighborhood is, so I hear, kind of the old money, fancy restaurants, clubs. Cabanyal, where I live, was until recently an old fishing village, and now it's actually part of Valencia, though it's about 5 kilometers from the city center. It's a really weird neighborhood. You walk down the street and it's like new, super updated building, and then it's like an abandoned, dilapidated building, and then like squatters definitely live here, and then another nice building. So super weird. Definitely everybody knows it's gentrifying. Things are still cheap. Really popular, especially in the summer, for people to come here. So we went to look at some properties with David from Valencia Property. Today we're going house hunting in Spain. We've never looked at real estate in another country, so this should be interesting. We're already late. They're hardly awake. What's your price max? To 200,000 euros. David let us know right away that Airbnb is really hard to do now. They've kind of stopped giving out permits. The reason for that is they've kind of looked at Barcelona. It was an Airbnb frenzy. So the government here has basically made it very hard to do. They frequently will Airbnb rooms in their house, and it seems like that's not really controlled or watched very closely. But midterm or long-term rentals are definitely permitted. So if it's anything over 30 days. And can you flip properties? Yeah, people definitely buy. There's a lot of older apartments that need to be updated.
Since the pandemic, the builders and the constructors and the architects are so busy. They're all saying now, until May, no chance of getting anything done.
So when you renovate a place, you pay in installments.
You pay in stages, so you pay 25% for the material, for the demolition. When that's done, you don't just turn up and say, right, give the builder 20 grand and let him get on with it.
And then you don't pay your last installment until you're completely satisfied with the work.
So this obviously is a bedroom, it's a bit dark. But natural light in Spain is difficult to come by. Because it's such a hot country, people go, well, we don't need light. Whereas you come from Northern Europe, or you come and you say, yeah, well, why is everything so dark all the time?
A normal return on investment in Valencia is 5-6%. 7 to 9% is really good and possible. Anything you rent out will rent out for at least 600, so that would be the low end.
I used to see these things for 140, 150, and we've done renovations and resold at 140, 150. So when I see stuff at 240, 250 now, I think, shit, that's really expensive. But if you come from London, Paris, Amsterdam, America, it's, oh, this is really cheap. From my point of view, it isn't, but if it depends where the stand your viewpoint is, you know.
It's definitely a turtle. He's making a really slow escape. Quirks in Spanish real estate. So first, licenses can take a long time, especially if you're in like a protected historic zone. My neighborhood, Cabañal, they have made rules about where you can build, what you can build. So you need to keep the original facade.
They prop them up and then you do everything new behind them.
You can only build as high as the original building was.
That can only be a single story. So nobody's going to buy that to invest to put in 6 apartments because you can't, you're not allowed to do it.
But the licenses can take a long time to get.
And the woman who bought it originally was one of our clients 5 or 6 years ago. She bought it for 160. The architects were faffing around and saying, well, we can't get the license. And then because she wasn't here, she was in the UK. Every now and again she'd turn up and nothing had been done. I think the architect was taking her for a bit of a ride actually and charged her a fortune for doing whatever. In the end she got sick of it and said, I'm going to sell. But she bought for 160 and sold for 395.
Whoa. And like sometimes properties are inherited. People don't want to deal with them or they can't even find the owners. That's why in this neighborhood there's just like buildings falling down because there's nothing you can do until they physically just fall down.
Concreted up or boarded up sometimes, it's called tapiado, so you don't get squatters in. Also the council, in their wisdom, when they thought that it was going to be knocked down, they started to knock them down very randomly, just one there. So it's like looking at an old guy with only 3 teeth in his head. And there's a gap, and there's a gap, and there's a gap, and it all looks a bit rough and ready. Right, so you've got the laundry area. Now for me, all of these walls, you can get rid of these walls. Unless you're going to cook sardines and prawns every day, and then you can close the door. There isn't a door. Even if you took the wall out, you wouldn't have an issue of there's going to be a big hole in the floor because they usually put the floor in first and then stick the walls on top.
Let's talk numbers. If you buy a place, you're going to pay 20 to 30% down payment. 20-year loan is the most typical. And then when you buy a place, you just should budget in. So between the notary, the valuation of the property, registration, and taxes, it's going to be like another 10 to 12% of the total value of the house. So you need to calculate that when you're shopping.
160 or 150, and you say, well, you've got the cost, so that's going to take to say 175, 180, and then throw 5 to 10,000 and you're still within the €200,000 thing.
Yeah.
If you rent it out for 750 a month or 800, it's kind of job done. It's an area for if you've got bicycles. In the entrances to the buildings you might see a pair of pants or something, and that's because they've fallen down onto the first floor. But you pick them up and you leave them in the entrance to the building.
So is it a good investment? Okay, let's crunch the numbers here. Say you buy that third apartment we saw for 152,000 euros, and you're gonna rent it out for 850. Plus it's furnished, so it's good to go. Say you pay 50,000 euros up front as your down payment, plus 10 to 12% for those closing costs and taxes. So then you're left with 102,000, and if you divide that over 20 years, 240 payments. So your mortgage every month is going to be 425. You're renting it out for 850. You'll be getting 425 every month. After you pay the mortgage, hopefully the property is going up in value. If you buy one of these properties and it's going the way of El Carmen or Rusafa, where 5-10 years ago you could buy one for 120,000, then in about maybe 5 years from now, that property will be worth 300 plus thousand.
Real estate in Spain is very different than the US. Prices seem so reasonable for what you get here. Very charming streets. So we saw three very nice properties. I would consider any of them. Yes, I need more education. I need to see more options.
There's a lot to know about real estate in Spain. Ask the experts. Yeah. I don't know what to...
So is buying property in Valencia a good idea? If you have the money, here being by the ocean, you know, there's like global warming and sea rise to think about. I think about it. Depends on your goals. If you want to be a landlord, if you want to live here but maybe like have roommates and do some house hacking, I think that would be a good idea. If you're gonna be living in a different country most of the year and then like renting it out, I don't know. I guess people do it. It seems like a headache. Anyway, I feel for my friends who work their butts off and have to have like 5 roommates, because if you're bringing in like 1,000 or 1,200 euros a month and then rent is 900, like what are you gonna do? To live with your parents or live with a bunch of roommates? So I don't know if like all these investors coming in is helping the problem. I mean, it's not helping, it's making it worse. It's not helping the problem of affordability. Housing should be a human right and not a means to make the rich richer. But also, real estate markets are fascinating, and in a new country, it's even more fascinating for me. I just worry with the gentrification that normal, especially here, normal Spaniards who work at the restaurants, teach in the schools, do all the important jobs, won't be able to afford certain neighborhoods. Then it's gonna go the way that, you know, mountain towns in Colorado have gone, where you're walking down the street of this super cute and super expensive town in Colorado, and there's restaurants with signs in the door saying, sorry, we closed because workers can't afford to live here. So we have no workers because rich people have bought, you know, their second, third, fourth home here, and there's not enough like affordable housing. And then those same rich people stop the building of affordable housing, and then you have nowhere to buy coffee because normal people can't afford to live there and work there. If you're enjoying this video, vlog, spiel, rambling, click subscribe, the like button so you can see the next video.